On a Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, Florida State Seminoles live. Here we go. It's Clemson week, and we got Logan Robinson on the line from Noel Game Day, and also, of course, Jason Parker from Chop Chat. Chop Chat.
You love that. You love
it.
I love it.
Enunciation. Anybody who grew up in broadcasting, enunciation means much. It means a lot.
I worked for a station down here at one time that was big on alliteration in the graphics and making sure, tainted takedown or stuff like that, big on that. So I get it. So that's why I came to work for Chop Chat. It has nothing to do with them paying me. That's why.
For those of you on the line, bring more with you.
Yeah.
Let's get 200 on the line at one time. We get about 2,000 views total, but live viewers online taking part in what you have told me is the best live chat room in college football. And we'll talk, of course, Clemson football. And the big showdown is a 26-point underdog. When has Florida State ever been a 26-point underdog to Clemson? I'm guessing never.
Never. It's the biggest since the 2009 game against Florida that they ended up losing by 27 points in Tim Tebow's final season game with the Gators. Oh, gross. Gators. Sorry. Shout out. I want to apologize in advance to the viewers. We got 12 minutes until I can eat. It's Yom Kippur. Shout out to all my fellow Hebrews who went to temple today. Some of us had to go to work today. But shout out to those who have atoned. It's Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Shout out to my fellow FSU Jews out there, member of both tribes. Also, shout out to Logan for actually showing up, unlike his Steelers did against the Ravens on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, it just does suck, though, that my quarterback, my second quarterback, gets absolutely knocked out, literally. So and then we have to put in a guy that actually Samford, who threw over 400 yards on Florida State in there.
And for a couple of minutes, that was pretty scary. He looked like he was knocked out.
He did. It was a scary moment, even as a Ravens fan.
Lifeless, laying there.
Yeah, that was scary.
I'm sorry. You didn't respond to my text when I sent you a text after the game. What happened?
I was triggered, but then I did return it later in the day.
Mm-hmm. Just let you know who won that game. 11 minutes to go. 11 minutes till I can eat. Shout out. I got some egg salad here. Shout out to my people sub shop down here in Miami. Come on. 11 minutes. Let's get this going. Come on.
Jason, if Logan was a Yankees fan and took that approach, he could flash the 6 rings to your 2. Is what he could do.
I do enjoy my rings. My hand, and now my other hand's still a little heavy, but this one's so heavy right now.
That is fine. I believe your last one was 2008. Ours was 2012. By the way, speaking of the Yankees, shout out Yankees. The only team to sweep their divisional series. The Braves. Oy vey would be the words to describe them today. But
yeah, no, they're getting obliterated.
They are getting
obliterated. You're all over the map. Baltimore Ravens, Florida State Seminoles. Of course, you went to school there. New York Yankees.
I can explain it at a later time. I'll just say I have a father who was born and raised in the Bronx. My mother's from Miami, so that's how I kind of got raised there. So I was a Dolphins fan, but then I left the Dolphins because they kept drafting offensive linemen. My ex-wife is from the D.C. area, so we went with the Ravens because the Washington team name is offensive. But I guess since I divorced her, do I have to divorce the Ravens too? Like, how does this go? We didn't do this. Help me out, MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Help me out.
Voice of college football would be your cue to not be asking me such questions.
I need your help.
Never fear, everyone out there. We do know that it's Clemson week. It's an important football week. It is the middle of football season. Yeah. We've talked nothing but senseless garbage for the last 3 to 5 minutes. But we're going to talk football right now, starting with Florida State. We'll focus on Clemson in a few minutes, and we'll get to the news of the day involving Generis Robinson, who got hit with the targeting penalty, will be out for the first half. Your thoughts on how that affects us? We'll start with Jason.
Listen, let's all just put our cards out here on the table. Let's do our predictions now. Clemson is going to win this game. It's going to happen. We all knew this was going to happen at the start of the season, barring a major catastrophe involving Trevor Lawrence being declared ineligible or Dabo Swinney immediately leaving to take a job at Alabama. Right now, Clemson is going to win this ball game. Where it hurts is the momentum that Florida State had coming into this game. And we joke about it a little bit. If this game had been played last week, Florida State coming off their best game of the season, Clemson coming off their worst, barely beating North Carolina by a single point. if it's played last week, I think FSU has a decent chance to stay competitive and a smaller chance to actually win the ball game. With it being played this week, I think with all due respect to Generis, it's going to hurt. Obviously, not having him in the first half, but at this point, it's all about being respectable in this game. And then, I'm going to be there rooting for FSU. Cheering on the Noles. You're going to, Logan's going to be rooting for the Noles. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. I'm sure he'll be rooting for great storylines for us to talk about each week. But I think in the scheme of things, it is really it hurts a little bit for morale. But in terms of how it's going to affect FSU's game plan and whatnot, I don't see it affecting it all that much heading into this week's game.
Logan, before I cut you loose, I want you, as you many times have to play moderator between Jason and myself, and I apologize that you need to do that from time to time, but it's all his fault.
7 minutes to go.
Who is the guy that just last week was telling me it means nothing to be competitive, to put up a good fight, to be in the game? That means absolutely nothing.
It does mean absolutely nothing. I stand by that statement, and I'm not saying, once again, if Florida State goes out and loses this game, let's say 38-28, 38-31 in a close ball game, I will sit there and say, hey, great job, guys. You still lost. No, I am not a moral victories guy. I stand by that statement. I will still say a loss is a loss, no matter if it's 1 point, no matter if it's 49 points like last year. So, no, I am not saying that at all. Do I want FSU to play this ball game close? Absolutely. Do I think FSU is going to play this ball game closer than what the experts in Las Vegas think? Absolutely. Is it going to be a lot closer than last year? Of course. But we all know it's going to happen. We see the writing on the wall. We see what's going to happen. Let's just get to it.
I jumped on 26 points on Monday. I will not state it any other way. I thought that was way too many, and I jumped on Florida State in 26 points. Bam, give it to me.
Absolutely, 100%.
And again, Logan, don't you feel better? Won't you feel better about your football team if they go out there and they fight into the second half rather than it's 28-0 after the first quarter? You're going to feel better about what you have for the rest of the season going forward.
It was scoreless last year at the first quarter. Let's just remember that point. Go ahead, Logan.
That was pretty. That was pretty interesting last year. Of course, that changed dramatically, really quickly on Florida State. Dabo said time to stop playing around. Speaking on Generis Robinson, it's going to be pretty interesting because, Joshua Kando was the best defensive end. Talent-wise, Joshua Kando was the best. And then Generis Robinson, after losing Kando to that leg injury, Generis Robinson has stepped up and had a pretty nice last couple of weeks. He's a big boy. He looks like a freak if you're near him. He's massive guy, and he's been playing a big role and getting a pass rush there and making some nice tackles too. And it's so be that he tackled a guy that's probably 5 inches shorter than him, and they wanted him to go even lower, and he gets a targeting call and he's out for the game. So now you look at guys that who could play a role that can play against Clemson and Death Valley. I saw a lot of play from Dennis Briggs, who I thought looked pretty nice this season so far. When I saw him, he actually played a little bit against NC State too. And I was like, whoa, who is that guy? It kind of shocked me a little bit. But I would look to some younger guys kind of stepping in. There's going to have to be some pass rush. I'm sure we'll get to it. But in order for Florida State to stay close in this game, that unit as a whole is going to have to work as a team. As a unit, kind of like Marvin Wilson has said, he's calling them the mob, that D-line, at least those three with Robert Cooper and Durden. These guys have had some rest, which big boys need rest. And that's a huge thing for definitely an NFL top 10 draft pick with Marvin Wilson, who is going to have to play a role too. But getting pass rush is going to be a problem without Generis Robinson in the first half. And going to have to look at some younger guys to step in. Florida State, we talked about on our podcast last night, but Florida State was expecting to have a guy with Xavier Peters too, and to probably get some playing time this season. He was he's talented, an athletic freak, but then again, he had to transfer and go to Kentucky, and that was a more family related situation there. So Florida State's going to have to look to some younger guys. Or some guys that are behind that haven't had as much playing time, and I think this is a tough situation for Florida State, definitely defensively.
And let's
invite everyone to leave your comments and questions, and I will try to find as many as possible to leave up to our illustrious panel of Jason Parker from Chop Chat and Logan Robinson from Knoll Game Day. And I just had to leave this one up here to let Kyle know. Kyle, we applaud you first and foremost and recognize you as the first 4 comments, not just the first comment, the first 4 comments in the live chat, and which includes the obligatory Mark Rogers for VP 2020. I will answer your question this way, Kyle, in regards to if FSU wins this game, will they be in my top 25? Well, the top 25 is not created. The Mark Rogers TV Voice of College Football top 25 that actually makes sense is not built in a vacuum. So it depends on what everyone else does. But I cannot imagine that I would leave Florida State out of the top 25 if they win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not.
And I meant, and I feel bad. I meant to also mention Amari Gaynor, of course. I played with him. I played with him in high school. He's a weak side defensive end. Still got some. He's going to gain some more weight during the offseason this upcoming summer and stuff in spring. But he's growing into being, he's extremely physical for his size. He's always been that way. He wants to hurt you. He really does want to hurt you. I can tell you that firsthand. But he's a fiery guy. He's a good in the locker room. He's juiced. Him being a guy that is going to go and talking about what this defense is going to have to run, they have got to do what they did against Bachmeier. Bachmeier was not supposed to survive that game. I don't know how he did it as a true freshman against from Boise State facing Florida State. I don't know how that happened, but I mean, hit after hit after hit. What they were running for a majority of that game, I really liked from Barnett. I thought things were really working really well. I liked seeing Lamonte Taylor go off from the side and send it after the quarterback. They're going to have to be some packages ready to be able to handle and take care of Trevor Lawrence, because Trevor Lawrence hasn't had an amazing season. He's not the Jesus like everybody thought he was going to be this season. And I think it came out today, he's dealing with the bruised shoulder. I don't think they really wanted that to be public, but go ahead. Now that Florida State's defense knows, Leavitt knows, Barnett knows, they're going to figure out a way to probably try to not hurt his shoulder, but they're going to try to get to him and let him know that they're there. And I'm sure Marvin Wilson is pretty hungry to get after him too.
Yeah, I was going to tell you right there when you talked about Amari Gaynor. I'm sorry, the kid balled out against NC State. He needs to get all the credit in the world for what he did against the Wolfpack. Dominating performance. I think that's exactly what you want to see. And the critics out there, Mark Rogers TV, Voice of College Football, are going to sit there and say stuff like, "Oh, it's just NC State. Oh, it's just Louisville," stuff like that. That was a huge win for Florida State for the momentum. And we talk about. And all kidding aside, can Florida State beat Clemson? Absolutely, they can beat Clemson. Is it going to take them playing the best game they've played since probably the 2016 Orange Bowl against Michigan? Yes, it's going to take that kind of a monumental performance, but it can be done. And of course, we want FSU to win that game, but it's going to take guys like Gaynor stepping up. It's going to take James Blackman getting the starting role. He's going to have to play his best game as quarterback. And we're going to talk about this as it's going to go on, but I'm going to throw it out there right now. It's going to take Cam Akers playing like Cam Akers. Cam Akers has been a baller this season. He is averaging over 100 yards a game. He's on pace to break last year's total of just over 700 yards if he had a decent game this game. But that's going to be the key right now. I need Cam Akers. I don't need him to have 193 yards like he did against Louisiana Monroe. I need him to have, I'd say, probably between 80 and 100 yards, like he did last game against NC State and whatnot. If he can have the game like that, if James Blackman can have a game where, he's playing his best game, where he doesn't make mistakes, and that's going to be the biggest thing. Clemson's biggest thing is that they make you make mistakes. They make you overthink yourself. If FSU can stay in their lane, play their game, play the FSU like we talk about here, if FSU football can play the FSU football that we know, they have a shot at winning. Also, more importantly, it's past 7:15. The sun has come down here in South Florida. Happy end of Yom Kippur. I'm going to eat some dinner real quick.
I think what's pretty interesting about Cam Akers real quick is that he does just need to be himself. And what hurt him a lot last year, he was doing too much and he wasn't having enough patience and he was doing things that he shouldn't have been doing. This season, he has been having patience. He's not doing too much. He's just doing his thing, letting holes come to him. And he's playing extremely physical for a cat his size. And I think he just needs to be Cam Akers. Doesn't need to do a whole lot. And I'm sure we'll get to James Blackman here soon, too, because there's a lot to talk about that quarterback situation moving forward.
And before we do so, I've got Facebook Live on right now. Now, this is not the way people on Facebook right now. I appreciate it. Gerald, April, Augustina, Chris, Michelle, Robbie as well. I appreciate you jumping on Facebook as soon as I went live here, but this is not the way to watch it. Go to YouTube, go to Mark Rogers TV. Go to YouTube, Mark Rogers TV or MarkRogersTV.com. You can jump in the live chat, join the best live chat in college football, talk it up with myself, Jason, and Logan. And this is the way to consume our Florida State live show each and every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. But I thank you so much for being here. And we will see all of you very soon.
And speaking of consuming, consume this egg salad over here. Shout out to the sub shop near the campus of the University of Miami. Thank you for your Break the Fast egg salad. God bless.
Jason, I thought we settled it a few weeks ago that there would be no mentions of any establishments until they sponsor.
Hey, they gave me a discount. I've eaten there for about 10 years now, so shout out to them. I'm sorry. They
Unreal.
I'm sorry. Unreal. Come on. Listen, for those who don't know what Yom Kippur is, it's the Day of Atoning. It's the Day of Atonement. It's the most somber day in Judaism. I've spent all day atoning. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to Miami fans that I've mocked, Florida fans that I've mocked, FSU fans who whatnot. I'm sorry, guys, but come on, I'm hungry. Let me just eat for a moment. Let me have this moment. I've spent all day atoning.
All right. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, Florida State Seminoles live each and every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. I want to let everyone out there know that although this is Florida State Seminoles live, if you have any interest in playing this particular game, I came across it this week. It's called MiamiMoneyball.com. If you go to MiamiMoneyball.com, you predict, basically it's a fantasy site, and you pick out your game of choice. I believe it's central to the Florida teams, Florida State, Miami, the Miami Dolphins.
Ooh.
And you make your selections on predictions of statistics during the game. So, for example, I selected Virginia-Miami, 236 passing yards by N'Kosi Perry, Jaron Williams, whomever is going to start at quarterback. That was my selection. So I challenge anybody out there to go to MiamiMoneyball.com. They have a lot of giveaways and so forth. You start out with a certain amount of money, and then you go from there. And I challenge you to better my statistics in 12 different categories. So again, it's MiamiMoneyball.com. We also invite everyone to join the Super Chat.
Super Chat.
Help us build the channel and support us and contribute using the Super Chat. And also go to Amazon. I will post that on the banner. It's the description section link down below. It's Christmas season. Not necessarily for me. A lot of people start shopping in October. I'm around December 20th in that range. But October. So if you jump on Amazon, it's the same shopping experience. You go to the description section below, you grab the link next to Amazon. And yes, of course, my weekly predictions, I was 13-6 against the spread. That would make you a lot of money. 13-6 against the spread for the top 25 games last week. Boys, let's talk quarterbacks.
Always a fun topic. I'll let Jason chew out a little bit. I'll start off with this one. So
at least it's a fun topic.
It is. It makes it interesting. So Florida State's Willie Taggart mentioned on Monday during his press conference that James Blackman will be starting, but they're expecting also to have Alex Hornibrook get some playing time. And it's interesting to me. I'm not sure. We'll have to see how it is. But it kind of feels like Kendall Briles and Willie Taggart might not be on the complete same page with this. It seems like they're still trying to get a plan together, but maybe they do have a plan. Maybe they're BSing us and everything. But James Blackman will be getting the start. This is because James Blackman does give Florida State a better option at being able to extend that field and being able to make sure guys, because when Alex Hornibrook was in the game, and not a lot of people noticed this, and you got to kind of either observe it while you're watching or whatever, but NC State did a great job at being able to stack that box. Florida State had no rushing game, but they also did that because Alex Hornibrook doesn't bring a down the field threat to defenses, and that's why NC State dropped that box down, and they did a good job. Alex Hornibrook also put himself into some tough situations with getting sacked. All of those were not on the offensive line. He kind of just runs into defenders. James Blackman has a better talent at eluding defensive linemen or defense as a whole and being able to extend the play out a little bit more. So that's why James Blackman is starting, and it's I guess that's in my opinion, but I mean, we've seen it. James Blackman will be able to stretch his field. It's high risk, high reward for this game. You got to go with James Blackman, and Florida State is going to need explosive plays, big plays in order to stay, close in Death Valley with the Tigers.
First of all, 3 things. Number 1, Logan, thank you for giving me those 2 minutes right there. I do appreciate that. Number 2, shout out to Kyle. Popeyes is still better than Chick-fil-A. Number 3, I like the move of James Blackman as starting quarterback. I like it because, and I'm going to be honest, there was the biggest negative thing in the NC State game was the 8 sacks, and there's no way of hiding it. The offensive line took a step back in this one. Now, was it a one-time thing? Let's hope for that right there. I do like James Blackman in its starting quarterback because, like you said, he gives you that extra, I can get out of the pocket, I can evade pressure, I'm going to take some sacks, but I'm not going to take 8 sacks. So I like that move right there. I do like the fact, and we've said it before, we've talked about it, you have 2 quarterbacks, you really don't have 1 quarterback. If you can't start 1 quarterback, you're in trouble. So I like that fact there, but I also like the fact that they've said, hey, Alex Hornibrook is going to get some snaps. There are going to be some formations for him. There's going to be some designs for him in this one because you saw what happened when they did it against Louisville. He comes in the first play, boom, he throws the touchdown pass. I like having – but this is the question. What is going to be the set? Is it going to be one of these things where if FSU can stay with Clemson, let's say it's 7-7, let's say it's 14-10, let's say they're still in the ballgame, what do you do then? Do you stick with that game plan of, hey, here's what we're going to do. We decided, hey, Alex Hornibrook's going to get the first 2 drives of the third quarter? Or do you say, okay, it's working with James Blackman. Do we just throw that complete play out the window? So that's going to be the one question right there.
Yeah.
Look any worse than Miami looked last weekend. I was at that game, and I'm also going to be at that Miami-Virginia game on Friday. That was bad. That was a bad one for Miami. We can talk about that as it goes on, and I'm sure Mark Rogers will have plenty to talk about with Cam Underwood at 8 o'clock when he talks Miami football. But
and the thing with James Blackman too is he's got to, of course, have his best game in order for this to stay tight, like this to actually be a game that national television will actually stay and keep watching. But he can't look he looked out of his head. He just didn't look like himself against Virginia when they went on the road. He just didn't seem like he was there. His throws were either below the guy's feet. They were not anywhere close at times. And that's not usually like him. And I think he was pushing things, and there was something in his head. His roommate, who has been his roommate since he started, best friends, DJ Matthews, didn't travel with them to that game. I don't know if that had any effect to it. That might just be ridiculous, but he looked out of it. That can't happen against Clemson. I don't think it will. And we know he can play a lot better than that, but there's got to be he can't go back to how he performed against Virginia because he just wasn't there with it. It didn't seem like it. And he throws a ball extremely hard sometimes. Sometimes they're not easy to catch, and where it doesn't need to really be that, doesn't need to have all that kind of heat on it where some guys drop. And there's been situations where some guys should be catching some of these passes and they drop them. But James Blackman can't have that kind of stuff in his head going to Clemson. And I don't think he really will. Luckily, he's already been to Clemson. Sadly, he had to go in as a true freshman there, which was extremely scary. Having a guy there at his size, that young, and that quickly have to learn Jimbo's offense. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he plays, and this also goes to the offensive line. I saw a question on here if Coleman should practice this week. I don't, on my end, don't predict whatsoever for him to play during this game. Juwan Williams, though, will return. I think both me and Jason will expect him to play. and definitely start. He looked pretty healthy, and some things we viewed at practice. And that, it's crazy to say, Juwan Williams, of all people, this is going to help this offensive line improve in a decent way. And that's just how it is. It's 2019. And Juwan Williams had a nice spring. Not a terrible start to the season, but this will play, I think, a big role for that offensive line to help protect Blackman and Hornibrook.
And you mentioned it, and I'm going to give a little bastion of positivity to our FSU fans out there. Let's not forget for one moment, Florida State was down 17-14 to the defending national champion Clemson Tigers. The last time they played in Clemson in 2017, Florida State was down by 3 points late in the fourth quarter and had the ball and was driving. And they turned the ball over, and Clemson scores 2 touchdowns to make the game look a lot more like a blowout than it actually was. But let's not forget, this was a Florida State team that was with Clemson in a game with a team that arguably, I would say, if you said that which team was better, the 2019 Seminoles or the 2017 Seminoles, the 2019 Seminoles are a much better team and would run routes on that 2017 team. Now, that being said, the 2019 Clemson Tiger team is much better than the 2017 Clemson Tiger team. So it's kind of a mixed bag there. But just let's give a bastion of positivity to the new year. Okay, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Rosh Hashanah was a couple of weeks ago. I'm trying to be positive. I atoned today. I'm sorry to all the people I've sinned for in the last year. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everyone. So there's your positivity. Florida State can hit.
I want everyone out there to know that certainly I am the voice of college football. But when it comes to Florida State football, I would not even begin to match Jason's knowledge of the team, the roster, the personnel. I watch the big games, and the big games have become less and less when it comes to Florida State. But typical Florida State season, I'm watching 6 or 7, 8 games. Okay, you watch every game, watch every play, you write everything, you're on top of it. I do not come close. You are telling me that this 2019 Florida State team is better than the 2017 team?
As far as Florida State teams go, absolutely. You have number one. Let's start with quarterback. At James Blackman, you have a starting quarterback who I believe by that point that was, and Logan, you can back me up on this one, because that made them 3-6 by that point. So that was his 8th game playing. Now he's played that entire season minus the Alabama game, and he's played most of this season so far. So he has more experience under his belt. Cam Akers has 2 years experience. You have defensive guys. You have more experience, number one. Yes, if the 2019 Seminoles played the 2017 Seminoles, the 2019 Seminoles would dominate that game 100%.
That's kind of odd, because everybody the 2017 Seminoles played, they do much better than all the teams that the 2019 Seminoles are playing.
What do you mean?
I mean that I will be surprised if Clemson doesn't play a much better, and the score discrepancy isn't much greater than what we talked about 2 years ago. I watched that game. I know exactly the sequence you're talking about. Blackman throws an interception, driving down the field up 17-14 or down 17-14, whatever the situation was. And suddenly it becomes a blowout after Clemson scores 2 touchdowns late. But with about 5 to 6 minutes left, Florida State was as good as Clemson on the field that day in Death Valley.
That's all I'm saying, is that on paper, Clemson should get a dominating win over Florida State. I will 100% agree with that. And when it comes time for Logan and I to make our predictions in about 20, 25 minutes, who knows how we're going to predict this game. All I'm saying is that anything is possible. I'm saying that Florida State fans should keep the hope, keep the faith that anything is possible, and Florida State can play with Clemson. If Florida State plays their best game, if Florida State plays Clemson and forces Clemson to make mistakes, and if Florida State, once again, I'm admitting that this is going to require Florida State to play their best game in at least 3 or 4 seasons. Maybe even if you want to go back further to the 2014 season or the 2013 title season. It's going to require Florida State to play their best game and require Clemson to make mistakes. If that happens, I'm saying that we could be in for an interesting game. I'm once again not saying Florida State wins, but a very interesting game.
I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing that the 2017 team is better than the 2019 team. I'm
They're
looking
not. The 2019 team is
right
better.
now, and I'm remembering these games.
Didn't have a Devon.
No. I'm sorry if you misinterpreted. I'm saying the 2019 team, the team that will take the field,
Yes,
this Saturday, is much better than the 2017 team.
Florida State team.
Absolutely, 100%.
The team that only played one bad game the entire season. They lost to Boston College 35-3. Otherwise, they were in every game, and they took Clemson to the final 5 minutes of the game. They played Alabama to a 10-7 game sometime in the fourth quarter before they gave up 2 touchdowns, lost 24-7.
10-7 at halftime, I believe.
Whatever it was, they played. This team would not play Bama to a 10-7 game at halftime. They would not play them like those teams were comparable. They came off the field, and I thought, yeah, Bama's better. DeAndre Francois got hurt. That's really going to hurt Florida State. Obviously, it did the rest of the season. But I watched that game thinking Florida State's a top 10 team in the nation.
Correct.
This was a 1-2 score game into the fourth quarter.
And then lost to.
They would not play like that against an Alabama type team, I don't believe, right now.
And then their next 3 games after that Alabama game, after the 2-week thank you Hurricane Irma delay, was a loss to NC State at home.
Yeah, that NC State team was much better than this NC State team.
A Wake Forest team that they needed a Hail Mary to audenitate to win, and then a loss to a Miami team, the first loss since the 2009 season, to a Miami team that, yeah, they went on to go 10-0 to start the season, but would you argue that Miami team was really a 10-0 Miami team? I get, your record is what you say you were, but if that team plays, are they winning 10 games every single season? What I'm saying is this 2019 team was a better team. Right now, if they played on the field, if you put this 2019 team with this 2017 team, this 2019 FSU team beats that 2017 FSU team. 100%.
I don't see it. And we've got better things to talk about than comparing teams from 2 years ago. So I'll stop it right now. But I'm saying you know so much more about Florida State football than I do. I get it. But that 2017 team, I probably saw 7 or 8 of those games, and they are better. They're 2 touchdowns better than this team.
Someone said crack. Someone said crack kills.
Oh, not even close, MarkRogersTV. I love you, man. I love the Garnet background here with our names. Mazel tov. Thank you for that. But come on, dude. That's not even a question.
It's not a question. The team that beat Louisiana Monroe by 1 point on a missed extra point overtime, that blew a lead against Boise State of 18 points, and on and on and on and on.
2017 team that beat Syracuse thanks to Syracuse missing a field goal. The Syracuse team that I believe went 4-8 that season, correct?
Yeah, the one that beat Clemson. Yeah.
Yeah, the Syracuse went 4-8, correct?
That beat Clemson. Yeah, that's the same team that went 4-8, and they were good enough to beat Clemson.
If they don't miss that field goal, the way that's going, they probably beat FSU in overtime, and FSU doesn't make a bowl game. You don't have to reschedule your game against Louisiana Monroe. You don't beat a Florida team that had a losing season. You don't beat a Delaware State team. You don't have to worry about those games because you don't make a bowl game.
Logan,
this 2019 team beats 2017. Moving on, Logan, go.
Logan, keys to beating Clemson or staying close this year in 2019.
The first thing, that I haven't done it in like 2 weeks, but 21 likes and 84 people watching. Usually we do it every week, 50 likes at least. We're sitting at 21. While I'm talking, I hope by the time I'm done, we hit 50. But we're looking at 21.
Good success, Logan. You've got a track record, and
every time
get revved up.
Every time we've hit 50 likes, we're sitting at 21 right now, so hopefully we can hit that while I'm talking. But keys, and I just got done talking about these, and I should have wrote them down. Number 1, I think Florida State's D-line unit, and also whoever's going to be the one stepping in as taking kind of Generis Robinson's role there as getting to the quarterback with Trevor Lawrence is going to be a huge key. And I think it does help that the bye week is giving these big boys. These are some massive defensive linemen. You don't usually get to see these kind of big boys like this. All 3 of them sit right there. Florida State's got some guys, some dogs, and Marvin Wilson is the leader there in the pack. And I think that the defensive line is going to have to get to the quarterback and also try to help make it so then these holes are easy for the running backs to stuff. I think Robert Cooper helps with that. He usually takes on 2 guys. Number 2, I'm going to go, what was I talking about earlier? James Blackman and his mentality for for this game. I know what he can do. I know what he can kind of bring to the table, but his mentality just can't be how it was against Virginia. He kind of looked out of it. He was kind of sloppy at times, and he just was thinking too much about it. If he's in a good mental state, I think that helps Florida State a lot offensively. And I think mixing that with also giving shots to Tamarion Terry for explosive plays will help a lot. Also increase the rate for having Cam Akers a decent game. So James Blackman having a good mental state for this game is huge. Number 3, gonna have to have some takeaways to stay anywhere close to this. And Florida State dropped like 3 or 4 interceptions against NC State. Kind of balls just come to them. Fagans has been. That's a good thing. Guys are putting themselves in situations. It sucks, of course. FSU fans don't like it. That they're dropping interceptions, but they are putting themselves in areas where the ball is, which has kind of been a concern for Florida State's defense the last couple of years. Guys are putting themselves near the ball. I think Levante Taylor has had a nice comeback, I guess you can say, since him having to sit out a game. He's played nice, and so there's going to have to be a takeaway, maybe not even one, but they're going to have 2. And I think this defense is ready. I think the momentum is good. I think it was tough that you're riding momentum and then it goes into a bye week, so it kind of stops. But I hope they're staying awoke. Good thing that Jim Leavitt is there because they had their best practice before the NC State game. There's a lot of the players, I've never even met the man, but they're saying, he's energizing the entire practice. Nobody's sitting still. So hopefully that momentum can continue to go. And there's not been kind of still since their bye week. So takeaways, James Blackman, mental state, and Florida State's defensive line unit going after Trevor Lawrence and ETN.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there. You cannot give enough credit to what Jim Leavitt has brought in. I mean, I get that he's the analyst. That's what that man's the defense. That man's the defensive coordinator for that team, and it's not an insult towards Harlan Barnett. We ridiculed him the first couple of weeks. I stand by the statement that changes need to be made, and I think the change is that Jim Leavitt is that defensive coordinator, and in a way that he is bringing that energy. And we talked about before that Mickey Andrews type defensive coordinator, that Jeremy Pruitt in the 2013, that aggressive, that I'm going to knock you in the head. I'm going to do as much as I can so that I don't get the flag, but I'm going to play as physical as possible. And I think that's what you finally saw. You saw a physical defense against an NC State team that had beaten them 2 years in a row. I think, and I feel like we just need to keep saying it. FSU can't beat themselves in this game if they want to stay in this game. If they want to stay in this game and have a chance to win, FSU can't commit the turnovers. You see Rob Krause standing right there. Brian Burns isn't walking through that door right there. You had Brian Burns, you had Matthew Thomas, you had these guys playing with that heart in the 2017, and then you had the turnovers on offense. And once again, James Blackman is a true freshman, not making excuses. It's the fact of the matter is what it is. FSU killed themselves. FSU killed their chance to pull off that upset. If FSU can avoid turnovers, avoid shooting themselves in the foot, they are going to stay in this game. It's going to be the question, do they have that heart? Can they take that momentum from playing their best game of the year against NC State, and can they force Clemson to play the way Clemson did against North Carolina? Because I'll tell you right now, if Florida State, let's be honest, if Florida State plays the way they did against NC State and Clemson plays the way they did against North Carolina, Florida State will win this game. The question is, what are the chances of that happening again? Jay Jobs, you're crazy. LSU is going to beat Florida. And I'm sorry, the person who said FSU is not going to beat Miami until 2029. Okay. November 2nd, Florida State beats Miami. Mark it down. Go ahead.
Well, and what's also interesting that someone tweeted today is the showdown of Kendall Briles versus Brent Venables from Clemson, their defensive coordinator, which is kind of pretty intriguing to me because we've seen the huge increase that Florida State has made since Kendall Briles has joined. I mean, it's been absolutely, I mean, he's getting his money's worth. And that's something that, we kind of predicted before the season with Kendall Briles, can Kendall Briles do it again for a third time, coming into his first year at a place and completely turning it around? And at least statistically, it's ridiculous. And I think it'll be pretty interesting to see, of course, the talent, both teams talent-wise, it's there, but I think it is the drop-off there is the difference in coaching. Clemson has them beat by a lot, and I think that's where it's going to take advantage. But Kendall Briles and Brent Venables, I think, is a pretty interesting matchup that we'll see on Saturday. Kendall Briles has been a huge lift on this team in a big way, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can be on the same page with what Taggart keeps on saying, with having Hornibrook get in there and playing a little bit.
And I feel like that this Clemson team is in a lot of similarities to that 2014 FSU team. That 2013 FSU team was so dominating, arguably one of, I say, the best college football team ever. And people want to say that 2018 Clemson team was one of the best college football teams of all time. And then 2019, what's wrong? Oh, they almost lost to North Carolina. Oh, they play sloppy at times against Texas A&M. They play all this stuff. Oh, it's not that they're dominating the same way that 2018 Clemson team did. It's a different team. And I think Dabo Swinney was right when he said, hey, this is a different team. That 2018 team is not going to happen again. You see a lot of similarities to that 2014 FSU team. Everyone's like, oh, well, what's happening? Florida State's losing at halftime to Louisville. Oh, well, Florida State comes out and dominates in the second half. Oh, Florida State's losing to Miami. Oh, Florida State comes out in the second half and dominates. So that's going to be the question. If Florida State, let's say Florida State somehow miraculously has a 17-14 lead at the half against Clemson, is it going to be, oh crap, we won the first half? Or is it going to be, okay, guys, we've won the first two quarters. How bad do you want this? How bad does James Blackman want this? Does Cam Akers want this?
If you're asking James Blackman, I can go and guarantee you what answer that would be. I would actually pay money to see what he would say in that reaction one again.
And I get that, but it's going to be this question. But here's the question. What games so far this season? And I'm going to play devil's advocate here. It's going to be anti-FSU. Sorry, guys. I love my alma mater, but let's be honest. What game so far this season gives you that confidence to say, yes, I know for a fact if Florida State has this lead against Clemson, let's say Florida State has a lead against Clemson, what game so far this season gives you the confidence that knows, okay, Florida State has this lead, they are going to win this game? Because I'm sorry, with all due respect, this isn't the same NC State team that beat Florida State the last 2 years. I'm sorry, this is a Louisville team. Yes, I know they have 3 wins, but this is still a Louisville team. The other win was against the Louisiana Monroe team that got killed against Iowa State. Let Iowa State score 72 on them. To me, that's what worries me, is that Florida State has not played a team so far this season that gives me that confidence to know, okay, if they are beating Clemson at halftime, I have the confidence to know that lead can hold on in the second half.
Yeah, no.
Here it comes.
But it sounds like to
me, here it comes.
Is that you're basically backing up my argument that the 2017 team is better than the 2019 team.
Your argument is because of close wins against Wake Forest, because they played close. Yes, the 2017 team fought hard. No question about it. The question was, if the 2019 team played the 2017 team, which, once again, I hate doing these arguments because I hate, 2013 Florida State, what would they do against 2001 Miami? You can't do this stuff. It's different games. It's different teams. But for argument's sake, if you're saying the 2019 team versus the 2017 team, who would win that game? I think the 2019 FSU team handily beats the 2017 Florida State Seminoles.
Oh no! Don't bring it back up.
No, I'm not bringing it up. But once again, it's a bogus argument because you can't do it.
Listen up, folks. So we've got this site right here. So if you love to play fantasy type sports,
we do.
You go to MiamiMoneyball.com. You've got a number of games there. They focus on Florida football teams there: Miami, Florida State, Florida, the Miami Dolphins.
Cool.
And you play the games. And so, for example, out of 12 categories, I took Miami to post 236 passing yards against Virginia. And you play the games right there, 12 categories. There are a number of prizes. Go check it out, MiamiMoneyball.com.
How bad are the Dolphins this year? I'm sorry. I mean, I'm down here. I cover them.
They're awful.
That's a bad team.
Yes, it's historically bad at this point.
I know that any NFL team could beat the worst NFL team could beat the best college team. Let's be honest.
Yes, I refuse to get into that.
But
we can agree on that one, Jason.
No, but let's be honest. Let's be honest. Is this 2019 Dolphins team the closest of any pro team that could lose to a college team? Let's be honest. That's a bad.
I'm not going to make that commitment yet. There have been some historically bad teams that I could talk about.
That's a bad team. That's a bad.
Yeah, they're obviously a bad team. That's why we're talking about them as being a bad team. They're a bad team. Yeah. But they've only played, 4 games, 5 games? We'll see.
And of course,
folks, the Super Chat's on, so you can contribute to the channel and help us build Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. The Super Chat's on, as well as you can grab my weekly predictions. And actually, this opportunity is much more than just my predictions. You join the voice of college football community. You can do an exclusive live stream with me and some other exclusive content right there. Link is in the description section of any of the videos. Voice of college football. Get my predictions at 13-6, gentlemen. I don't know how many times you guys put $1 or $2 on a game, but at $100 per, if you go 13-6, you're winning 90 to 91 bucks on the dollar, or on the $100. You come out about $600 ahead. So not too bad. All right.
You do you.
Do your Amazon shopping. Use the link below. Christmas is coming.
And Hanukkah. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry. Shout out.
Jason likes to keep me in check, and I'm sure that I will now have to be on my game when it comes to equal representation through the holiday season.
I expect 8 nights a gift from you. That's all I'm saying.
So we've got a Clemson Florida State matchup, and what have we missed? I would like to serve up this question before we get to predictions. These are the 2 programs in the conference. This program, or this conference, was owned by Florida State and has basically been owned by Florida State since the mid-90s, since they joined the conference. Sure, some dips in there in the 2000s. Virginia Tech was really good, but basically Florida State has owned the conference. They won like 12 out of 15 conference championships. Owned the conference. And then obviously the upsurge when Jimbo took over, winning a national championship, another undefeated regular season. And then we had that war that was waged between about 2012 and 2016, where Clemson, Florida State, Clemson took over, and now it's Clemson's conference. What is it going to take for Florida State to get back to that elite level and challenge Clemson as the program in the ACC?
Well, let's say this real quick. Okay. To challenge Clemson. Florida State challenged Clemson in 2015, 2016, 2017. Everyone wants to look at last year's game, and they should. Florida State got blown out by 49 points to Clemson. But let's look at it. 2015, the game was tied at 13 in the fourth quarter. Clemson scores 10 fourth quarter points to win that game. 2016, in Tallahassee, Florida State was winning that game in the fourth quarter until I can't curse, till a bogus penalty called on Florida State on Freddie Stevenson, and then they've been making shirts talking about shot block that I have to get one of those. Logan, if you see one in Tallahassee, I'm next. I'll send it. I got you on money. And Florida State lost that game. And then once again, as we talked about, Florida State was driving in 2017, down by 3 points, with a chance to maybe, let's say you get in field goal range. You had Ricky Aguayo before he got a case of the yips, and could have maybe, let's say, tied that ball game.
Jason, I appreciate the rundown of the particular games, but I think I summarized all that. Florida State owned the conference through 2014. There was a battle waging like 2014, 15, 16. Clemson took over the last few seasons. That's what we have. And this is where we stand right now.
Hold on. What I'm clarifying is how you said for Florida State to get back. Last year was the first season that Florida State was not in that game. So that's what I'm saying, to get back into competing with Clemson. Florida State has competed with Clemson the whole time, just like Clemson competed with Florida State, except for that 2013 game. Remember, the 2014 game went to overtime. Oh, peanut butter bowl. That's it's true. That game is going to be for bowl eligibility. We can talk about that as we go on. But anyway, so I think what Florida State has to do is Florida State has to not kill themselves. Florida State has to not make the mistakes. Once again, and it's simple. I know it's simple. If Florida State plays the way Florida State has the ability to play, and the Florida State that we know that talent has, they have that ability. They have the ability to play with Clemson. They have the ability to play with any team. It is self-inflicted wounds. If Florida State cannot kill themselves, Florida State will be in this game. And I'm not saying Florida State will be in this game to a 1 point, 2 point, but Florida State will be within a possession. That's going to be the biggest question. if James Blackman doesn't make mistakes, if Cam Akers doesn't fumble the ball, if the defense doesn't give up 3rd and longs, like even they did against NC State. There were several 3rd downs where you're going, what the heck are they doing? If they play like that, this game is going to be interesting. This game will be within 1 possession, and Florida State could conceivably pull off the upset, but it's going to be up to, does FSU want this?
Are we answering on how does Florida State get back into the picture of fighting and taking over the ACC, like what they need to do overall? And
yeah, from a program standpoint.
How did the 2017 game, the 2016 game, the 2015 game, where it's a
it's going to have to take them first being a bully like they have been in the ACC. We never thought, a Virginia game, but I mean, some of these teams have gotten better, but a Virginia team, a Wake Forest team is going to be a big game at 7:30 for Florida State next weekend. It's going to have to be to where those kind of teams aren't. It's got to be where those kind of teams aren't really thought of, where it's like, okay, well, Florida State's going to have an easy peasy game. But I mean, right now, covering Florida State, it's a Wake Forest team. They're good right now, but you would think Florida State could still handle a team like that. But it's still 50-50. It still might lean towards more with Wake Forest. So it's got to first get rid of these little babies that are in the ACC, and then it's got to start being able to compete with Clemson and have they can compete, unlike last year. But it's obvious that Clemson does have a better team, and they've had it the last couple of years. And it's going to have to take them beating Clemson and going to the ACC championship and at least reaching a playoff and kind of keeping that momentum there. If not, it'll just be, if they do reach it, then they'll just be fighting between each other. But it's always the Clemson game is such a huge showdown every year now. And it's not only for, ACC championship for most of the time in the division, but now it's recruiting that gets brought in with it too. And then also playoff situation. And it's going to be interesting to see, can Willie Taggart, is this Willie Taggart's team where he can bring it to that level with Dabo Swinney? And it'll be interesting to see. I think he's made some smart moves. I think he knows that he's kind of in the he was in a tough situation at the ULM game, and he made a smart decision, a CEO type decision, and he brought in Jim Leavitt, and it's worked out in his favor really well. So he's making smart decisions. It'll be also interesting. Can I pick my number 4 thing? Key to having FSU stay in this game? Coaching. Florida State loves to screw themselves and put themselves in bad spots and just stupid flags and the flags that are still happening where they don't know how to line up. And that's all goes to coaching at some points. I mean, unless they're yelling at the player out there and they're not lining up right, that's the coach's fault. They practice it during the week and they think that it's eligible to be able to play, but it ends up not being that way. And sometimes those plays end up doing pretty well for them. They get called back. Coaching is going to play a vital role in this game too. Just to add that on.
I'm just going to say one thing. If FSU does pull off the upset, then FSU does win the game. The FSU Wake Forest game next week on the ACC network, yawn, is going to be for the ACC Atlantic title. Just throwing that out there real quick. Let that sink in for a second. If Florida State can pull off the upset, they'll be playing Wake Forest for the Atlantic Division title, because Florida State will then be in the driver's seat and the tiebreaker over Clemson, because their one loss would be to Virginia.
Yeah.
A non-divisional loss. So just throwing it out there real quick.
Yeah, it's a crazy world we live in now.
Think about it.
J Jobs, the answer to your question is because I can. That's the answer to your question.
He runs things. He wouldn't let me play Uncle Luke earlier. Just throwing that out real quick.
Florida State either won outright or shared the ACC championship in 1992, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 02, 03. And that's where the dominance stopped and then picked back up, of course, in 2012, 13, 14.
2005, they won. They beat Virginia Tech first ACC championship game. Get it right. I was there.
Jacksonville.
I know that they won the ACC championship game.
You didn't say it.
I got it right.
Didn't say it.
I said their streak ended in 2004. All right. you guys have a couple minutes to talk predictions. My predictions will be at the Voice of College Football community in the link in the description section of any of the videos. You can catch me right there, 13-6 against the spread last week, 77-58 this season. Jason.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Sure.
All right, FSU can win this game. Let's just say it. We've said it for the last hour. FSU has the ability. They have the talent that they can, if they play their best, compete with Clemson and can possibly win this game. That being said, as much as I hate to say it, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that Clemson does win this game. I think it's going to be the same story. I think FSU will be within a possession late, probably in the fourth quarter. They'll be within a possession, and Clemson will get just 2 scores in the fourth quarter to make it look bigger than it actually was. So I'm going to say that it's probably 24-21 entering the fourth quarter Clemson, and then they score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to kind of pull it away. So I'm going to say Clemson 38, Florida State 21. I'm going to say, though, that what FSU needs to fans need to focus on is just because you lose this game does not mean it's the end of the world. You've got Wake Forest, who has struggled against teams like Utah State and whatnot. You've got a Syracuse team that's gotten blown out. You've got a Miami team that's probably going to be 2-4 after this week. So the road to a bowl game is fine. But as far as this week, I'm going to say 38-21 Clemson.
All right. I'm going to just kind of be straight up. What the Florida State shouldn't be able to win this game. I think coaching is on a higher tier right now than Florida State. It's how it should be anyways. Second year under Willie Taggart, got new staff, guys that are in their first years. Your offensive coordinator is in his first year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's working out for Florida State, but you kind of know what I mean. I think Florida State does lose this game. It's going to have to be up to really James Blackman and how that Florida State defensive line is going to have to get to Trevor Lawrence. I'm going Florida State. I'm going to go Clemson 34, FSU 17. It'll also be interesting to keep an eye on Ricky Aguayo too. I do think he'll probably I haven't heard anything. I'm just kind of guessing, but he'll probably play since he has the most experience. It's an away game, but he's been hurting Florida State a lot. If you have any chance of getting points on the board, Ricky Aguayo is going to have to put him there. But Florida State, the talent is there, but I do think Clemson is going to kind of be pissed off after their performance against North Carolina. And I think they'll have a pretty decent game. I'm kind of worried Trevor Lawrence might have one of his best games, if not his best, this weekend. But then again, we talked about how Florida State's DBs are putting themselves in the right spots right now, and sadly they're dropping picks, but I do expect Florida State to get a turnover from Trevor Lawrence. I would say Asante Samuel Jr.
We appreciate everyone who's joined the live chat tonight. We've topped out at 87 on the line. We'll get a few thousand once the video posts to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I would encourage you guys to check out Jason Parker at Chop Chat and Logan Robinson at Knoll Game Day. For those of the viewers who are going to check you guys out and what you've got available, give us a quick summary of what you got there available, Logan.
Right now, got a lot of stuff. We talked about what Dabo Swinney said and had some high praise for Cam Akers. We have a podcast that's coming out tomorrow around noonish, hour and a half, answering questions, previewing the Clemson game, tons and tons of stuff on there. But that's coming out tomorrow from On Hear the Spear on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube now. We're coming for you, Mark.
And over on Shop Chat, we have got the greatest story ever. Why FSU will beat Clemson in 2020.
I am losing track of time. It's 8:01. It's time for Miami Hurricanes Live.
Everything's
we appreciate you stopping by. Logan, hopefully we can touch base later this week. Keep in contact, and we'll get that done. Appreciate you guys. As always, best Florida State football talk each and every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. We will see everyone very soon. Keep it right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Front page. Miami's show is coming right now. See you guys.